don't know what you're gonna do about dinner.
We actually just pulled up to the pie shop.
You gonna have pie for dinner?
We're gonna have macaroni for dinner. We got leftover macaroni. We're gonna put that on top of the pie. This is gonna be an awesome dinner. I didn't have chocolate ice cream, so... Guinness?
Gas! Gas! Gas!
I mean, we've seen a lot of child abduction thrillers, but this one feels unique in its structure. I mean, it's kind of like there's a point in the movie where a character pulls out like a puzzle and they try to put together in a different way, and the movie's kind of like a puzzle piece in a sense. Yeah. And I was curious, did you construct it in a way that was nonlinear, or did that kind of come about in the editing room?
No, I mean, the script is nonlinear. I mean, it takes as its premise the idea that the child was abducted 8 years ago, and these people are locked into this strange world where they don't know what's happened. And also that the young woman who's been abducted is held in this unexpectedly beautiful cell, but she gets access to her mother through this channel that the pedophile has created, probably at her insistence because she misses her mother, but it becomes something else, and it becomes another sort of instrument of torture, this time for the people who have been left behind. So all that was in the script, and the complexity of moving back and forth within 8 years was there. But of course, the editing then becomes like the last draft of that.
Right, right. And then Scott, you did a lot of research on this role, I'm sure, and
Sure.
Your character has to deal with like the dark psychological realm of the world. And in the process of your research, what surprised you most about what you found out?
What surprised me the most is, from the book we read, One Child at a Time, to talking to the cops, was how often, sadly, that the family is involved with the exploitation of the child, and how they're used as a barter system over the internet in these rings, over Skype as a trading tool. I mean, it's just sort of abhorrent, obviously, and that just, all of it is terrible, but that one really struck me as something particularly awful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's always, I mean, I've seen a lot of cop shows. It's always kind of amazing how people can stay on a job for that long. And
well, they can't. I mean, these guys I got to talk to in Kitchener-Waterloo in Ontario, they can only do it for 2 or 3 years at a time before they have to go do something else. I mean, they're just basically watching this material all day as a crime scene, trying to find clues here and here, but it's obviously very difficult to separate your life after a while. But made total sense to me. I mean, I do a lot of extreme things in the movie, but it didn't seem that extreme to me, just because I can imagine myself getting wrapped up in something and crossing a line, and that wouldn't seem like a line at that point, I don't think.
Yeah, it's interesting you were saying, like watching a crime scene and trying to figure out clues. It's very much like what you're saying about the whole film. I mean, the whole film is presenting, a series of clues or pieces of evidence, and the viewer really has to try and put those things together.
Right.
And because there, in some ways, the viewer is ahead of the game in terms of what the detectives are seeing. We actually are ahead of where they are, and they seem strangely impotent, to do their job, and yet they're overwhelmed by what the nature of that work is.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a bit of ambiguity throughout the movie, and I'm like, do you like ambiguity in the movie?
I love it.
I thought you did.
Give me dollops of ambiguity.
Yeah, he loves it.
No, I can't make a film without ambiguity. I'll give you an unambiguous response to the answer. No, I just think that there's an inherent mystery in any meeting between any two humans, and that's where drama occurs. People trying to negotiate. Detectives trying to figure out, each other and forming an unlikely romantic partnership and what that leads to, and even, husbands and wives who should know each other and suddenly cast suspicion on each other. All those things are fascinating to me, but it's driven by my curiosity of, human beings.
Yeah, I always dig ambiguity in a movie because it gets you to thinking.
And also in this film, we also don't know how big this ring is. I mean, there are a couple of characters that are placed in the film who are actually, like the Bruce Greenwood character and the Arsene Khanjan character. We don't know whether or not they're part of this bigger world or not, and they're definite red herrings. They're just placed there to kind of get the viewer thinking, that there are designs wilder than anything I can imagine that are, operating in this world.
They might be watching me.
Who's watching you? Have you seen this girl?